Will the Chiefs three-peat?
I don't know, Jim. Welcome to the Backcourt Podcast. Ken, how we doing? It's Sunday evening championship weekend.
Doing pretty good. Watched some football today. One good game, one not good game.
Indeed.
But not complaining because it was just another day of football, and we're running out of those days.
Yeah. I think we should just start off with the one we just watched. Chiefs Bills, a matchup we've seen several times in Josh and Pat Mahomes' career. Fourth matchup, Chiefs get it done for the fourth straight time. Man, I was pulling for the Bills in this game. I really wanted to see Josh break through. But Mahomes is inevitable. He really is, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just watching that game. Like honestly, I didn't really care either way. If the Chiefs go on and they go to the Super Bowl, they win. Then it's only like one quarterback from the AFC's really been doing it outside of Burrow in 2021. But yeah, I mean it was a great game. Of course, it's Patrick Mahomes, so the officiating errors that occur in the game are going to be highlighted even more, clipped and posted and complained about. But that was a pretty decent called game. A couple key ones here and there that I think were wrong, but overall, I think it was a pretty good game. And I just think Josh Allen and the Bills, I don't really think that they were ready for it. Josh, I just don't. I think it's time to have the conversation of can he even get over that hump, because when it's not Mahomes, it's somebody else. So I mean, we'll see what happens in the future years, but like Josh didn't
Yeah.
have an incredible game today. I mean, stopped several times trying to use his legs, just didn't look as sharp today. And if the Chiefs defense they played a great game, but I think that they played their A game. Josh probably had like 3 or 4 turnovers.
Yeah, I think Josh played well tonight. I just think that's just not enough, honestly, if you see. And I'm not going to say it's his fault or anything like that, this game, because first of all, just looking at this game, if we're being practical, it's really easy to get emotional about these type of games, especially these teams have matched up many times. Mahomes has ran this league the last 5-6 seasons. Um, the QB thing, we'll get into it later about QB rankings. That's the highest topic on any kind of media show. It's kind of like this own kind of like what's the word? Soap opera. Soap opera, is that the
Yeah.
term? Yeah, it's just like a reality TV drama almost, just highlighted around the quarterbacks and if they're winning or if they're not, if it's their fault or is it their team. But for looking at it practically here, I just think, in all reality, I just think the Chiefs are a better team.
Mm-hmm.
I think offensively they have more weapons. I think they have a better defense overall. And I think sometimes that's what it comes down to. And I just think in terms of the Bills, their best position is at quarterback and Josh Allen. He's incredible. But the Chiefs have a guy who's even more proven and has been even more incredible in his career in Patrick Mahomes. And they just made a couple more plays down the stretch. And the Bills had a chance, obviously, that Kincaid dropped pass in the fourth down was huge. He had his hands on it, couldn't quite get it. And yeah, they just allowed the Chiefs to get the ball back. And when they need a big first down, Mahomes is pretty damn good at that. So
Yeah. What I think what shocked me the most is defensive coordinator for the Chiefs, Spags. Um, very very good at what he does, but Tony Romo talking about it on the broadcast, like it's pretty predictable what he's gonna do. Jesus, but at the end of the day, like I feel like McDermott's got to have your team ready to go. Like it looked like they were just lost out there sometimes, especially on offense with those blitzes. They just don't look like they were ready to handle it. And then defensively, man, they kind of look lost in the middle of the field. Comeback player of the year candidate DeMar Hamlin really struggled today. Was getting run over by Mahomes several times, getting lost in coverage. But really, just the middle of the field for the Bills on defense was brutal.
Yeah.
And that's at the end of the day. Like I know you got to win the turnover battle, and I think they did. If you look at traditional turnovers and not like turnovers on downs. But turnovers aren't everything. At the end of the day, like Josh Allen had 3 fumbles, which none of them went to the Chiefs, but that kills the play where it is when you fumble like that. So
Yeah, they did win the turnover battle. There was no interceptions in this game. 1 fumble by Mahomes.
That was the Lord gave the Bills a little bit of help today because the fumble earlier was called back for a phantom offsides penalty, but they ended up hopping on it later in the drive. So corrected itself there.
And sorry about that noise in my room, guys. I knocked over my water bottle. My light was tweaking, so we're all good now, though. But yeah, just looking at it, it's so tough, man. Allen looked devastated after this game, and yeah, it's just tough, man, because they've been there before. The Bills are a franchise of getting to the big game or getting close and being let down every time. 4 straight Super Bowls. I believe the 90s, losing every one. Like, that is just brutal. Absolutely brutal.
Yeah. 4 in a row. Like, just imagine going to the Super Bowl 4 in a row. And you just got to win one of them.
Yeah.
No.
So, I don't know necessarily stat-wise, but can we just have a conversation about something that no one's really going to talk about, but I think Kareem Hunt is borderline top 10 running back in the league. I think he is. I think he's one of those guys that, there were several plays today where it's like, oh, that's 0 yards. That's a loss of 1. And he still gets 3 or 4 yards.
Him and Pacheco, I think, are like the same running back in terms of style. Like they're both really hard runners. I think Kareem's got a little bit more speed. But
I feel like I would take Kareem. I just think he's so reliable, man. Just so reliable.
Yeah, when he's not assaulting women, but besides the point.
Yeah, I mean that's not great, but like in terms of just his game on the field, man, I just always look at him like, how is this guy a free agent at one point? I just feel like he's so reliable as a runner with the football in his hands, especially goal line. He needed a couple more extra yards. I thought he had a really good day today and just made some big plays for the Chiefs.
Yeah, I agree with you there. There's a lot of good running backs in the league, but really there's only I think 3 or 4 that are just like game breakers.
Yeah.
I could see top 10. I'm looking at the the teams of the NFL right now, trying to count out who would be above them. I see a couple guys here, but I don't think I see 10.
What should the Bills do at this point? Because it's like
you fire your coach.
You didn't get fired, Sean?
Yeah. I don't think it's that he's a bad coach. I just think it's someone's got to go. And you fired your defensive coordinator a couple years back. I believe this is Joe Brady's a newer offensive coordinator. The defense is kind of falling apart, and I think McDermott is a defensive-minded head coach. So I think maybe you fire him. But at the end of it, what's brutal about the teams that get to this point where you just kind of need a change is if you fire McDermott now, who are you gonna get? Who is available during this coaching cycle? I think Mike McCarthy is still out there and available. But that might really be it.
I think I don't think that's the answer. I would keep Sean if I was personally running the organization. I just think there's a couple areas. I just think Receivers, I think you need to go ahead and find a guy maybe in the draft, maybe
Try
via
that.
trade, free agency. I think you just need a little help on that avenue,
Do
a little more help on
you
the defense.
do you make a but do you make a higher up change? Like, is your GM the guy? Because you had top talent, you had Stephon Diggs, didn't work out. You trade back in the draft. I think this team would be electric with Xavier Worthy on their team.
Yeah.
But went ahead and traded back and got Keon Coleman. Traded
Mhm.
for Amari Cooper in the middle of the season. He really hasn't done anything this year for the Bills.
Yeah. I think
Defensively, you got a lot of holes.
yeah, I gotta look at some of the defensive metrics and stuff for them this year because I'm not super well versed in how they looked as defense this year. But I think in all reality, this it's a sad thing to say. I think you just run it back, and it's just kind of a thing that like it's Mahomes. You guys were the second best team in the AFC this year. You just gotta kind of hope next time things go differently. Make a couple moves in free agency and the draft. But I always compared Patrick Mahomes to Michael Jordan in the '90s.
Mm-hmm.
You have all these great players. You have Patrick Ewing. You have Charles Barkley. You have Hakeem Olajuwon. No one was winning championships in that era with Michael Jordan, and that's kind of what Pat Mahomes has been.
Yeah.
Um, all these great players that just haven't been able to get over the hump because of this one guy, this one franchise, and the Chiefs. Obviously, it's not all Pat. It's a very good structure there, great players, but Pat is kind of the leading force at that. So
Yeah. I don't know. I think year after year you say let's just run it back when you're the Bills organization. I feel like that's been the answer for 5 years in a row, and it's been lost to the Chiefs, lost to the Chiefs, lost to the Bengals, lost to the Chiefs. So
yeah,
it's just like
they
how
did
many more
make a
times can you?
change. They did make a change. They got rid of a lot of defensive guys. They got rid of Stephon.
Yeah.
So it was different, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
You got one game. One game. No. Were they in the AFC Championship last year? No.
No, that was the
No,
Ravens.
it was the Ravens. They
Mhm.
lost to the Chiefs in the divisional round, right?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah,
yeah,
man,
it's
tough beat
brutal.
for them. Chiefs back to the Super Bowl. What do you think happens if Pat wins the Super Bowl third straight? He is my number two quarterback instantly. The only guy I have ahead of him right now is Joe Montana.
Hmm.
And he's on a Brady trajectory. As crazy as that is
Yeah.
to say.
I mean, he's
For Super Bowls under 30, like he's maybe even a little bit ahead of Brady, but he was
yeah.
doing things so late in his career that's tough.
Yeah. I think Brady is still the GOAT
Agreed.
even if he three-peats, but I think it's Patrick Mahomes his title to take. I think if he gets the three-peat, then his trajectory is surpassing Brady by you know a good amount because Brady never three-peated. He's doing things Brady hasn't seen. Um, as as we talk about sports and people are just getting better and better and better,
Mhm.
playing against somewhat more difficult competition. But if he keeps doing it year after year, adds on a couple more after this year, then I don't think you necessarily have to win the same amount of rings to be considered better than Tom Brady just because of what he's done in such a little time, and especially now if he's going to go for a three-peat, which has never been done before.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. But as we get on to the next game here, we'll loop back to that eventually. But yeah, the first game of the weekend started off decently. I feel like three quarters through was still competitive, and it just they broke ahead in the fourth
Mm-hmm.
quarter. Eagles putting up over 50 points. Saquon goes off. Jalen Hurts has a crazy game. Um, yeah, it was ugly. It was ugly,
Yeah,
man.
it's really brutal too because it's not even because Jaden Daniels wasn't ready. It's not like he didn't live up to the hype. Like he played a very good game. The problem really just came down to turnovers and defense. Um, Jaden did everything in his power to keep the Commanders in this game, and his team was fumbling on special teams, fumbling after the catch, giving I think it was 3 fumbles, which is just insane. Um, but no turnovers for Jaden Daniels. He played electric, and Saquon just an absolute game changer. Really just he just pounded the ball. I mean, from the start of the game, had a 55, 60-yard rush touchdown on their first touch of the game.
Crazy run too.
Yeah, and stuff like that just kept happening. Just beating them down. Never really got ahead of the Eagles. Never made them, go into the passing game script. They were able to remain balanced all game, and Jalen Hurts had a very good game. Did what he needed to do. Didn't look as hurt as he did last week in the game, so that's a positive for them. Did a really good job of playing quarterback today, and then Saquon did an amazing job of playing running back.
I have a take about Jalen Hurts I thought of earlier today. Some people might get a little butthurt about it. Some people might not like this take. I think Jalen Hurts is Brock Purdy, but with better rushing ability.
Like a more mobile Brock Purdy?
Yeah.
I can see that.
I think he is a star as a game manager, but can also run the ball. I debate Avi weekly, if not daily, about Jalen Hurts. I think he is not an elite quarterback. I think he's top 10, kind of lower down the top 10 or kind of middle. We'll get to it later because we're going to talk about it. But yeah, I just don't see him as an elite caliber quarterback, being a guy who is legitimately the fifth best player on his offense, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And let me go through that for you real quick. Saquon Barkley, number 1. Number 2, Jordan Mailata on the O-line. Lane Johnson on the O-line.
I think Lane Johnson's better than Mailata, but go ahead.
I don't know. Mailata had a crazy season, though. And this is, again, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just looking at PFF grades. So I saw Mailata was one of the highest ranked guys. And then A.J. Brown, of course, I would take over Jalen in terms of what he's done at his position. And then Hurts at 5. So, yeah, I just think it's really not taking anything away from him. He's doing his job. He's looking really good. But it's just the system he has in place, the players he has around him. He has a really good defense. I believe I heard the other day someone say number 1 defense in the NFL, according to stats.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just I feel like it's interesting when we have a conversation about quarterbacks because you have that. And then a guy like Josh Allen, I feel like didn't have as much help this year, or a guy like Jaden Daniels, who Washington, obviously they turn the ball over a little bit too much, but the defense is to blame still when you allow over 50 points. Yeah, it's interesting though. What do you think about this game, man?
Yeah, it was brutal. Like, as I said, like the turnovers really hurt. And they were turning it over like in their own territory. So it was basically giving up 3 points. Defense didn't show up at all. Terrible run defense all year. I think they were like, I'm going to pull out my Mina Kimes podcast knowledge here. I think they were like 27th in DVOA against the run, whatever that means.
I like it.
It's either that or EPA per play against the run. I don't know. But whatever that means. But just not good rushing. And then they lost their best run stopper. He was hurt for this game, declared out prior to the start. But, I mean, this game probably went about as the same way I thought it was going to go. I didn't think it was going to be this much of a blowout, but I definitely saw a run-heavy game with some passing in there just because of how bad that defense is. And A.J. Brown was ready to have a game. He only had I think 25 yards in the last 3 games. So
yeah,
but it's crazy because usually after a loss like this, you're like, okay, well, let's have a serious conversation about the quarterback. I don't think you have to have that conversation for this game because he played very well. Everyone else around him really crumbled.
Yeah, no, I think. Man, it was tough. I kind of expected coming in 55 points. I didn't expect that, but I did expect Washington's defense to struggle. The defense was not great this year, and Eagles have a really good run game. They show that off today. We're able to pass the ball a bit too, and yeah, I think Jaden Daniels is one of the best young quarterbacks. Not even young, one of the best quarterbacks, period, in the league right now. and I'm really excited. But it's also one of those things like we always talk about teams when they're young like this. Oh, they go ahead first year for Dan Quinn. He goes ahead and brings them all the way to NFC Championship game. They're bound to do better in the future, right?
Nope.
Maybe, maybe. It's kind of tough because it's hard to make it to even the semifinals, let alone the Super Bowl. And when you get there, it's tough when you let it slip through your fingers.
Yeah.
And yeah, but with that being said, Washington builds up the defense a bit this summer, and I think they could be a really solid team again next year.
Yeah, I think that's what I think separates people that understand sports. I think football more so because of how salaries and stuff are allocated, but that's how the difference. How people talk about it. It's like, oh, rookie season, just happy to be there. Like, no, they want to win. They want to get to the Super Bowl because as you said, Dan Quinn knows just as good as anybody how hard it is to get back there. I mean, Jaden Daniels had a very good year. You're gonna add some pieces. You're gonna lose some pieces in the offseason. We'll see how the draft goes. Other teams are gonna get better. Other teams are gonna add and subtract. Um, so
Yeah,
it's never a guarantee to get back there, and it takes an injury here, an injury there, and it could derail a season, and you don't want to have to leave it up to that. So
yeah.
yeah, I think they approached it with the right mindset. I think Dan Quinn instilled it in his guys how important this game was. But at the end of the day, I think the better team prevailed.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things. I think they were just the far better team. Phillies had one of the best rosters for the last 5, 6 years in the league, and it really showed today. And yeah, so we got Philly and Kansas City in the Super Bowl.
Again,
Caden, let's go ahead and give our picks. What do you think the opening line is? I have it at 2.5
well,
favoring Kansas City.
it is 1.5 favoring Kansas City.
Damn,
Um, that's
close.
posed to change. I think.
Yeah,
But I think the Chiefs will win. I think the defensive side of the ball. I think they'll be able to contain Saquon a little bit more. Um, Chris Jones in the middle, and then Karlaftis off the edge. I think is going to be deadly for them. And then I think their secondary is as good as anybody against these Eagles receivers. But at the same time, it's like you're looking at a mirror image of two teams. It's just if you flip Saquon and Mahomes, where it's like Saquon goes, if he was like a quarterback with how good he is, like that'll be Patrick Mahomes making plays with his feet, making plays with his head, making plays with his arm. Um, I think they're very similarly built teams. It's just Kansas City likes the short passes that break for big, and the Eagles like the run that breaks for big. So I think
yeah,
it's going to be an even match. I think 1.5. The starting line is good. I think it's probably going to move to 2.5 by the time we get to Super Bowl Sunday. But I think the Chiefs will take it in New Orleans.
I agree with you. My initial score prediction is 38-35. I think it's going to be actually decently scored this game. But I just think it comes down to Pat Mahomes, Kelsey, this offense. Well, they need to make plays 3rd and 9, 3rd and 5, 4th and 2. I just think they're going to make the plays. We've seen it too many times now to think otherwise. And when you have guys like that, I saw Brady for pretty much my whole life, and he did this constantly, and it's just really hard to beat. You have to be on your A++ type of game, and just tough to do. So I got the Chiefs repeating, which is crazy to say.
Yeah, I think this game is going to look very similar to how the game against the Rams looked for the Eagles. Um, I just I think the pass rush is going to be a big factor. The Eagles kind of struggled late in that Rams game against the pass rush, and I think that the Chiefs will be able to get home, make Jalen Hurts throw the ball quicker, make him hit the short routes, and then they'll come up and make the tackle. So
Yeah,
I think it's going to be like 28-25. I think it's going to be a little bit lower scoring
yeah.
just because of how these teams
Two
don't.
great defenses.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and these teams also, like, they are more than happy to grind it out. like Kansas City can go on an 8 minute 70 yard drive, score a touchdown, and the Eagles can do the exact same thing. So
Yeah, thinking about it logically right now, probably not. Like, why is it going to be 38-35? I just think it is.
it definitely could
Sometimes
be. I mean, Saquon, if he breaks a big run, if
exactly.
Kelsey gets loose, Xavier Worthy gets loose.
Worthy had a good game today. I forgot to shout him
Yeah.
out. Really good game for him today.
I think also too, like I think the reason I think it's going to be a little low scoring is I think they're going to go in with the same offensive mindset of if I'm the Chiefs, I'm like I want Saquon on the bench as long as possible, and if I'm the Eagles, I want Patrick Mahomes on the bench as long as possible.
Yeah.
So let's take our time on these drives, especially the Eagles with how successful they are going forward on fourth down. I think it's going to be four down territory once you cross half field.
Yeah. No, it's going to be fun for sure. Just shout out to Jaden Daniels again. Crazy good season, rookie season, man. So fun to watch. One of my favorite players to watch already in the league. So hopefully good things for them to come. But with that being said, Jaden Daniels, very big talking point when it comes to QB rankings.
Yep.
Caden, are you ready for it?
I am ready for it. I will say before we get to this list, this comment I'm about to make has nothing to do with my list, but Jaden Daniels, where he's at on my list right now, will not be there on the same spot next year at this time. I am expecting a little bit of regression. Teams have tape on him now, know how to play him a little bit. I think they can game plan and kind of figure him out as as we see with a lot of these second year quarterbacks after a great rookie season. I mean, we saw it with CJ Stroud this year, and I think it's just natural. I don't think he falls too far, but I don't think he'll be as great as he was this year.
Yeah. All right. So this is what I think we should do, Caden. Caden has all 32, correct?
Yes.
And I'm going to let you go through that. You can go ahead and take as much time as you want on those. And I have a top 10. Technically, I have 11 just because one of my guys just missed out on the top 10. I love this
Good.
quarterback, so I'll mention him. But I'll let you start at
Yeah. So
32.
32, I have whoever the quarterback is for the Giants,
Valid.
Drew Lock or DeVito. 31, I have whoever's playing quarterback for the Browns, whether that be Jameis Winston or DTR. I think Jameis Winston could probably put him up a little higher, but DTR was starting at the end of the year, and he was god awful. At 30, I have the man, the myth, the legend, Will Levis. No explanation really needed there.
Yep.
Cool guy though. Cool guy.
He's cool. We
29. Forgot about this guy, Aiden O'Connell for the Raiders. Just good, decent backup. And then here's where we kind of get
He
into
said good, good then decent. That was funny.
the
Good, decent, okay-ish.
He's out there. 28. I have the raw prospect himself that has not developed yet, Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
Just poor accuracy. Great with his legs, but decision making and just the short intermediate throws are not that great. 27. I know he kind of had a good end to the year, but if you looked at it like his quarterback stats, his efficiency, his overall quarterback ranking, passer rating, just it wasn't very good. I'm excited to see if he's got better days ahead of him. But I have Bryce Young.
Yep.
26. I have Derek Carr, and I think like Bryce Young up to 23. We'll get to it. Are pretty interchangeable. Bryce Young 27, Derek Carr 26, Russell Wilson 25, Michael Penix 24, Kyler Murray 23. Kyler Murray, I was really high on him to start the year. As you know, I was saying he was going to be a perennial top 10 quarterback after this season. I thought he was going to do a really good job with Marv, but I don't think he likes Marvin Harrison Jr. He said at the beginning of the year, it's not my job to get him the ball, and that is your job actually. I can't believe he actually said that. At 22, I have another rookie. I have Caleb Williams at 22. I think he's going to be good, but just didn't see a lot of greatness from him this year outside of glimpses. At 21, I have Trevor Lawrence. Kind of took a big step back. We'll see what happens with their new coaching system coming up, but he's been kind of disappointing for the past few years. At 20, another rookie who I think can make a jump, but when you look at the guys ahead of him, I think he's got some more to prove, even though he's a rookie. But I got Bo Nix at 20.
Okay.
Not saying he's bad at all. At 19, I have Aaron Rodgers. 18, Geno Smith. 17, I have rookie Drake May.
Caden, you're not going to believe me, brother. I had a number in mind, and it was 17 for Drake May. That's wild.
Yeah, I wrote out all of them. I switched some guys around, but
I
I
thought
ended
you
up
were
with
going to
Drake
say him
May
at 20.
17.
I'm like, damn.
I think he showed a lot. I know they didn't win a lot of games, but there is no talent there on the offense side of the ball. But I
That's a
think
good spot for him.
he was a bright spot who I think elevated the players around him.
Yeah.
Really happy with his rookie season. At 16, I have Tua Tagovailoa.
Yep.
I think he's a good quarterback. I just think he needs to rely on those weapons, and having Waddle and Tyreek Hill at your dispense, that's got to be awesome. But pretty down year, even when healthy.
Yeah.
At 15, man has revitalized his career, but turned into a pumpkin. Sam Darnold. 14, we have the game manager himself, Brock Purdy.
Yep.
At 13, I have Jordan Love.
Oh.
He doesn't impress me as much as other people have him. I think there's a lot of weakness in his game. Accuracy is kind of iffy. Playoff game did not play well. But 12, Baker Mayfield. 11, Matthew Stafford. Kind of had a down year too this year. Late in the season, he kind of struggled. But and for 6 through 10 coming up.
Wait, real quick. So I have 11.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Actually, 12. I technically have 12 because I kind of forgot about Jordan Love. Jordan Love would probably be 12.
Okay.
11. And I love Jordan Love, but
Yeah.
I agree he kind of struggled down the stretch. Had a solid year. Missed some time, but also some turnover issues.
Mhm.
I think once he polishes some stuff up, I think he will. I think he'll be top 7, 8 QB. Number 11, my guy Baker Mayfield. Love Bake. Had a great season too. So number 11, but number 10 for you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say 6 through 10 here.
Yep.
Very interchangeable.
Mm-hmm.
Just at
I agree.
plug and chug any spot. At 10, I have Dak Prescott.
Interesting. Very interesting. So I don't have Dak on the list. I didn't really think about him because he was out all year.
Yeah.
But I guess that's pretty standard. Between 10 and 15, I would say for him.
Yeah, I think he's a solid quarterback. He regular season very good. Playoffs is kind of iffy. New coaching staff coming in this year. We'll see how it does. But yeah, Dak Prescott. I feel like you can't go. I don't think you can go any higher than 10.
Yeah. So for me, I have a guy that's probably a little bit higher before the playoffs. I have Justin Herbert at number 10. Where do you have Herbert? Oh, you haven't sent him yet. Right.
I have him at 9.
Okay, you've been 9.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So pretty similar. A guy who I think is really, really good. I think sometimes I might talk down about him because some people talk about him as a top 5 QB in this league. And I just don't quite see that yet, at least. But I definitely think he's top 10, top 12 guy. And I think also this year, turnover wise, he looked great. But he was also asked to play a little more conservative. We've seen it before. He's had 5,000-yard passing seasons.
Yeah.
He has a great arm. Can move around a bit. So, yeah, I think he's a really, really great quarterback. So.
Yeah, I think he's got all the talent in the world to be top 5. But it's just decisions and when to use what kind of throw kind of thing, and I think that's going to come along with coaching. I think he's going to be in a good spot here for years to come. But
yeah,
it's funny that you say the thing about the turnovers because it's like he had 3 interceptions I think all year,
and then 4 in the playoffs.
4 in the playoffs in one game, which is honestly sad. But hey, you have 4 interceptions in a game. That's more than you had all season. Like that's
it's one of those things. Like I think like one or two, like late game. I don't really care about that.
Right.
It's like sometimes you're just like, we're down 20. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
huck it deep. Like I get it, but also there was real like detrimental turnovers in that game. So
Mhm.
yeah, I gotta have him at 10. Number 9, the guy who performed a little better in the playoffs, not as well in my opinion in the regular season as Herbo did. I have CJ Stroud at number 9. A guy who regressed a little bit, like we talked about earlier, in year 2. But I still think he had a really good showing later on in the year, and that's why he moved up a bit for me.
At 8, I have CJ Stroud.
Oh, nice.
I think he's a solid quarterback. His offensive line did him no favors. They had one of the worst rushing attacks in the NFL. So that especially for that team when their bread and butter last year was establish the run, play action, um, give Stroud time. They had none of that this year.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Number 8 for me. A guy, this is one of my guys. Struggled against the Commanders. Jared Goff still hit over 300 passing yards, but man, that performance in the playoffs is rough. So he dropped a couple spots for me. Still my guy. Still think he's going to be able to lead Detroit forward in the future. Yeah, and just disappointing. Also, I think that defense is trash in Detroit during that playoff game. But turnovers didn't help. But anyways, I'm rambling. Caden, take it away.
At 7, I have Jared Goff.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah,
Oh, buddy. I got a guy.
yeah.
I got
As
a
you
guy
say, as you
coming up.
say,
Yeah, okay.
the defensive thing. I agree with you. I mean, I don't think it's their fault. They were playing with a lot of third, fourth stringers out there, second
Yeah.
string, third string, fourth string kind of guys. But
Felt like 7th stringers.
yeah, Jared Goff didn't really do them any favors. Yeah, I still
Yeah,
think
the
it's
problem is Jared Goff also played like a second or third stringer in that
yeah.
game for part of it.
All right, so who's your 7?
7, I do have Jalen Hurts at number 7. A guy who it doesn't seem like you like that.
My number 6 is Jalen.
That's hilarious. Okay,
What
so
is
number 7,
happening?
Jalen
Oh
Hurts.
my god, this is awesome.
This is great. It's just like one spot off for each of us.
Yeah.
But it's working out well. Hurts. Oh man, I think there is some bias, and this is a thing. Like me and Avi talk about this like every other day. Like this is a 10 to 15 per person text between each other about Jalen Hurts every like 3-4 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy who I really like. I think he's a guy who just is gonna be. I think his floor is very high. His floor is very high with his rushing upside. He's generally very accurate and makes smart decisions. I think he's a very smart quarterback. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes in terms of turnovers. But I just think it's also a thing like upside wise, I just don't see it compared to some other quarterbacks. And I think I get kind of annoyed watching him because the Eagles and Jalen Hurts just play so conservative sometimes. It's just not fun to watch. And I know that doesn't actually go into like how good this quarterback is, but it almost feels like a guy like, say, Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or even like a guy like Jaden Daniels can really go ahead and elevate their teams, even if other players aren't playing as well. And I think Jalen can to a little bit of an extent, but he's always had a ton of help in his career. I just don't think he does it to the same level as these other guys. So I got him at 7.
Yeah, I think I have him at 6, and again, it's like I don't want to take away from him for
Yeah,
the
he
success he
can't really
has
do
with his
anything about
team.
it.
I
Yeah.
think he does what he is asked to do, and he does it very well. I mean, there have been games this year, today even a little bit where it's like, okay, we're gonna allow you to make a play, and he goes and he does it, and he does it well. So I don't know.
Man,
He's a great quarterback. He does great things. I don't think they ask a ton from him, but when they do ask him to do something, he typically does the right thing. So
here's my thing, man. And this is totally outside of actual football. His interview that I've seen multiple times where it's like, how bad do you Are you hungry for a Super Bowl or something or winning the season? See, I'm not hungry. I'm starving.
Oh
That's the
God,
cringiest shit I've ever heard. I'm sorry.
not a Boston Celtics fan talking cringe.
Okay, I love Jason Tatum, but yes, he's quite cringy. But you know what, man? That's my guy.
Yeah.
And
So who's your six?
6, I have to go with Matthew Stafford.
Okay.
A guy who's probably a little bit lower before the playoffs. But I was kind of reminded again, he had a really good playoff run. He's just a guy that like is legitimately one of our best playoff performing quarterbacks currently playing. And speaking of a guy who just like elevates an offense, I think he's one of those guys. Um, it's great sidearm, like able to make not he's not a scrambler per se, but he's
Hmm.
able to make plays with his arm, moving around in the pocket, extend stuff. And he's just really, really good, man. And a large part of this isn't even like stat wise because his regular season wasn't that impressive this year. It's just like eye test and gut feeling, previous playoff success. Like I want that guy running my team when it comes to the playoffs.
Yeah, I
So I
can
got
see
him at
that.
number 6.
Yeah, I think, and the loss that they suffered to the Eagles. I mean, his team, like I think Kyron Williams had like 2 fumbles in that game, which is very
Yeah.
uncharacteristic of them. I think if they keep the possession there and they, put a score in or two, I think it's a very different game. And we could be sitting here seeing a Rams Chiefs Super Bowl.
That would be a lot more fun than these damn Eagles.
Imagine a Rams Chiefs Super Bowl after the Rams Chiefs regular season game when golf was playing there, when it was like 54-51 a couple years back.
Oh yeah, that was crazy. Yeah.
It's like Jared Goff's like, are you serious?
One of the best like regular season games
Yeah.
in a very long time.
Yeah.
But
Todd Gurley.
oh man, he's gonna be one of those forgotten running backs. He
He
had
is.
that one season where the Rams went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He was
His fantasy stats
nasty,
were off the
man,
charts.
nasty.
All
But
right. So
Caden,
who is, I guess we both have to go into our top five now. Is that right?
yeah, real quick. So I have 6 through like 10, 11, 12 about.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my star QBs. That's the tier I'm giving them. You know, guys that elevate the team, but aren't quite the best of the best. So,
Yeah.
yeah, number 5 for you, Caden.
Number 5, I have the rookie phenom himself. I have Jaden Daniels. I think he really popped off this year. I think he's earned this spot, which is weird. Like he didn't play. I don't know if he played better than Jalen Hurts today, but I just think overall, quarterback wise, like what he did to that franchise in year one, insane. So I have him top 5. I have him at 5.
Yeah, in that game, I would say it was pretty similar between the two. I'd probably give the edge to Hurts by probably a little bit just because he didn't have a turnover, but honestly, pretty close. And again, I'm going to bring up Avi Allen again, friend of the show, also 215 Cinema. But man, he mentions Jalen Hurts rushing touchdowns a lot.
Yeah,
And I'm sorry, but half of them, if not more, are 1 to 2 yard tush pushes. So I'm just like, it's a great play, but I'm just like not really bringing it in when we go ahead and like rank how this guy played this game and like have a look. Like 3 touchdowns rushing, awesome, but I just don't think it's like a crazy thing when half the time it's just goal line snaps that you could hand off to Saquon.
yeah.
But
Especially when you're so close to the goal line, the ref says we might just award a score here. Like
that
that.
was the thing I forgot, Caden, and I wanted to address that with you. Most interesting thing of the day, arguably, I've never
Probably.
ever heard that.
Yeah, apparently it's been a rule since like 1948 or something like that. It's never been used, but it's like I don't think like it's a physical rule. I think it's like the ref can just make the decision
Hmm.
to I'm like but like my first thought was okay, who gets the touchdown? Like do they just award it to the team and no one gets it?
It's one of those things that It's interesting because I was watching the game with my dad, and he's like, "What is this? Fifth grade flag football or something?" He was like freaking out about
Yeah,
the ref. We were all kind of cheering for the Commanders. Um, but I guess it's like, what can you really do there? Just keep moving the ball. Like, eventually, you can't move the ball up any further.
right,
Um, I guess the idea I just thought of now, maybe like find the coach. That they wouldn't love that.
right,
Um, but then again, it's like if they're gonna just keep doing it and they won't, there's no repercussion. Like you can say kickoff.
right.
But I guess like one way to say it, like, hey, they're just gonna get the score because they have half an inch to go. I think I like the finding rule better. Like, 3 straight penalties in a row or something like that, 3 or
Yeah,
4, then you get a like some kind of fine.
yeah.
But I wanted them to go for it again. I think that would have been the funniest shit ever. They were down 18 points or whatever. The game was pretty much over at that point. Just go
Hmm.
for it again.
Yeah,
Big fu to the refs. I would. It would have been really funny.
yeah. Well, I think my problem with it occurring during this game with Philly is I think every time they do the tush push, someone is offsides on the offense. Like someone's in front of the ball, someone moves early every single time,
Hmm.
and like you saw it there too. Like I saw offensive line moving. I saw an offensive lineman's head across the ball. It's like that's illegal. How is it not an offensive penalty? But
Yeah,
yeah, it doesn't change anything, in my
yeah.
opinion. Like half an
Very
inch.
very weird situation.
Yeah,
But
I don't think we'll ever see it again. But yeah,
anyways, Caden number 5 for me. We got a little sidetracked there. Also, Jaden Daniels, and this tier is a one-person tier right now. It is my superstar tier,
it is
and
Jaden Daniels' tier.
it's Jaden Daniels, and I think he's a superstar right now in this league. Um, yeah, this is the tier. Right before, I do have 2 more tiers. I'll say that right now. Superstar is not the highest, but yeah, he's just been incredible passing the football this year, running. One of the smarter QBs in the league. Obviously, he can move, man. He's fast as hell. A cannon for an arm, and really has helped out guys like Terry McLaurin, a guy who's been a great receiver in this league for a while, really get
Mhm.
to another level this year. And I just love to see it. Again, one of my favorite QBs in the league.
Yeah, I think Terry McLaurin's finally getting some respect that he's been deserving. He's been a great receiver his whole career with some terrible quarterbacks. So it's nice to see him get that recognition.
All right, number 4.
Number 4, this hurt me to say. I made this list during the second game today, and I just really thought about the losses that he suffered, um, some turnover questions early in his career. Took much better care of the ball. I think he's going to be second in MVP voting this year, but I think I have Josh Allen at 4. It might just be I've just seen it so often kind of thing, but just really struggled running the ball today. Passing the ball wasn't his greatest showcase, and on the biggest stage, just you can't get it done. Um, and I probably shouldn't hold that against him, but I do.
Damn, that's tough. I'm gonna get to Josh in a minute here, but I feel like it's one of those things. Like, I'll save it for 1 second here. Number 4 for me is Lamar Jackson.
Whoa.
Um, this is my elite tier. 2 through 4 is elite QBs in this league. Lamar is at number 4. I think he had the best regular season this year. With that being said, I think 2 through 4 are pretty interchangeable, like very, very interchangeable, just super close. It just comes back to the thing like, who would I want for a season? Who would I want in terms of playoffs? Like winning a Super Bowl. I think that's what it comes down to. And while Lamar looked a lot better in this playoff run, Lamar has been the worst out of this group in
Hmm.
his career in the playoffs. So I got to have him at 4, but like you can convince me otherwise.
I agree with
TBH.
that. I agree.
So,
I feel like 2 through 4 is. I mean, we're gonna have the same guys here, just in a different order. I think they're all very, plug and place.
yeah.
Very, very, very good. Elevate everybody around them. But there's just one guy that's better.
Yeah. So number 3 for you, K Dizzle.
I have I have it like arrows like pointing to each other. Like could flip and flop, but I think if we're just gonna go off quarterbacking, I think I have Joe Burrow at 3.
Yeah, intrigue.
I think he was the best passer this season. But obviously, my guy at 2 is no surprise, Lamar Jackson. Lamar was great throwing the ball, but he also had the rushing upside ability. Um, I think the way that his offense is built really allows him to use his legs, and especially this year gives him a lot more freedom to use his legs. And his receivers, I think, had the highest separation rate on their routes run just because of how much of a threat he is on the ground and Derrick Henry was on the ground. But
Yeah,
he converted. He got his team to the playoffs. Didn't really perform all that great in the playoffs, full game. But at the end of the day, I do think that Lamar's 2 and Joe Burrow didn't get to the playoffs. I think he is the reason his team got to 9 wins. Um, I don't think he held them back at all, but he definitely propelled them forward. And
yeah,
I'm really happy to have him as my quarterback.
yes, sir. Yeah. So the thing with 2, 3, 4, it's honestly the list is so close for me that if a player beats the other player in the playoffs, generally, if similar games for both, I'm gonna go ahead and just give the edge, and that's Josh Allen, just a tiny bit over Lamar. Um, like we alluded to earlier, just a little bit better in terms of his playoff numbers. Again, I thought he was pretty solid today. Um, there was a couple plays that could have maybe been picked off, I think, early on in the game.
First 2 passes.
Yeah, I don't
He
know if he was
dropped.
nervous or just trying to force some stuff. But yeah, he's at number 3 for me. Incredible year for him. Man, while he was really efficient this year, I say screw it, bro. Let's see Josh Allen from the before the season. Just let it rip, brother. Let it rip. Come on, let's give me that
Yeah.
5,000 yard, 45 touchdown season, 27 interceptions. I don't care. Let's make it happen,
As
bro.
long as you're winning,
Yeah, just go out there
I'm
and
gonna I'm
make
going
it
ahead.
happen, man. And let's see. I'm not say Josh Allen was Superman this year for a lot of it, but just go for it even more, brother. I want to see some more jumping out of bounds, sidearm throws. I want to see more of that, man.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's number 3. Incredible year for him.
I'm
Sad to
changing my
see him go
list.
home.
I'm putting Joe Burrow at 2. I can't do it. I do think Joe's better than Lamar, in all honesty, at playing quarterback.
Yeah. Number 2 for me, I have Joe Burrow. And it comes down to I thought Joe was incredible this year in terms of quarterbacks. In this grouping, I thought Lamar had the best season. Then Joe Burrow. Then Josh. At least in terms of regular season, if you include
Yeah.
playoffs, might probably the same, but might switch a little bit. Um, yeah, man, Joe, whenever he's healthy, is really damn good, and this was his best season of his career. Just a shame his defense was atrocious and couldn't help him at all.
Like
Um,
it's
yeah,
the defense and also like the offensive line wasn't any good either.
yeah,
Like I like watch these games like the Eagles, and I'm like, man, if Joe Burrow had that pocket,
yeah,
like
and
there's like 5 yards of separation everywhere. You're like, wow, what could Joe do with that?
yeah, incredible passer, really smart quarterback, man. Has won at the big stages at times in his career, obviously making the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Um, also, you talk about like Josh Allen and Lamar, who are pretty well known for being able to run the ball as well. Joe, Joe's pretty fast, man. He doesn't do it all
Yeah.
the time, but he can also get out of the pocket and scramble a bit. And yeah, Joe at number 2, and honestly, 2, 3, 4, just kind of a gut feeling for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, but I think there's a pretty clear one, Caden.
Yeah. Daniel Jones.
My thoughts exactly, sir.
Patrick Mahomes in a tier all by himself. Just a winner. Didn't have a super impressive regular season stat wise, and then you look at the fact that they went 15-2.
Yep.
And they just squeeze out all the one-score games. Just when he has the ball, he's going to make the right decision when it comes down to needing it most.
Yeah, man. Number one for me. Well, Patrick Mahomes is 2A for me. 2A, 2B, interchangeable with Joe. Number one, of course, Drake May. Man, he didn't play a lot this year, but he is the best quarterback in the league already. You see it with his scrambling ability. He has the worst offensive line, worst weapons in the league, and still was incredible. I think there's no debate, and I think your list is atrocious. Yeah, no.
All right.
But number one, obviously, like realistically, is Patrick Mahomes. He won again. He might win back-to-back Super Bowls. Has the MVPs, has the Super Bowls. Just the biggest thing about him and Brady, and I keep comparing him to Brady because there's a lot of similarities between the two of them. They won at the biggest stage. Both have great arms, and just both are able to process the game like no other quarterback I've ever seen. So Mahomes, I think, is clear one when it comes to just general quarterback rankings. But
What tier do you have him in? What is your tier?
GOAT type shit.
Goat type shit. Okay.
Yeah. So like basically all timer tier is really the tier.
Oh, I wrote goat type shit.
Yeah, GOAT type shit is like the real name, but I was trying to get like professional type
Oh,
shit for the
okay.
pod. Yeah, but goat level ish, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's all I have with the ranking.
Yeah, I think next week we should hit up college basketball. I've been watching a lot of it.
Yes, Xavier
Um,
beating UConn.
Xavier beat
Awesome.
UConn. UC is falling apart.
Yes.
Wes Miller. I mean, they lost by 28 points in Provo, Utah.
To the BYU.
Yeah, they got smoked.
Smoked.
I saw this tweet today, and I have to confirm. Oh my god. Yeah, it is correct. So, in February, this is Alabama basketball. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to run through their schedule in February and March and tell me if this is unfair. So, Alabama, ranked fourth in the nation. As you know, rankings fluctuate, but as of right now,
They're perfect science, Ken. Perfect science.
Saturday, February 15th, they play at home against number 1 Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, at number 22 Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, home against number 9 Kentucky.
Mm.
Next, at home versus number 14 Mississippi State. March, at number 6 Tennessee.
Yeah.
Next up, Alabama home against number 5 Florida.
And this is all in a row?
Yes.
Okay.
And then last game of the season at home, or not at home, on the road, it's number 1 Auburn.
So this sounds like a lot of fun.
7 top 25 opponents. 1, 2, 3.
What's
4,
Alabama ranked?
5 top 10 opponents.
What's
Alabama
ranked?
right now is 4.
Man, those are gonna be some crazy games.
Those are
SEC
going to
is looking
be
pretty good right now.
insane. Yeah, and they just beat Texas A&M, who was ranked 10. SEC, maybe it's just the SEC stacked. Maybe it's not necessarily the schedule itself is hard. It might just be the comp. Yeah.
Yeah, because you listed like
3,
6
4,
or 7 teams there that were all ranked. So
there's 9 teams in the top 25 in the SEC. Probably soon to be 10. I think
they
Vanderbilt will
had at
probably
one
sneak
point like
in.
12 teams.
Yeah, I
remember seeing that.
think Vanderbilt will creep in after their win against South Carolina.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, so next week, some college basketball. Also, I'm going to the Senior Bowl coming up this next week. I will have some thoughts about certain prospects.
I believe Jalen Milroe is set to be there.
Milroe's going to be there. Gabriel. The Michigan running backs. We got some edge rushers. We got...
Is Jack Sawyer going to be there? Jack Sawyer, JTT, are they going?
I don't think they are. No.
Hmm.
I think for Ohio State, I think a lot of guys are trying to sit out because they've just been playing so
Yeah.
much. But
I saw
oh,
that both
a
running
lot
backs have declared for the draft for them.
good for them, man.
Did you hear what happened today at their little ceremony?
The Sawyer thing,
The what?
the Sawyer thing, saying he's going to come back for a
Oh,
fifth
no,
year.
no, no, no. So apparently, defensive coordinator Jim Knowles was not present. He did not speak to the team. He has not contacted the team, and he is now the defensive coordinator at Penn State.
I heard
And he
about
kind of
that.
just ghosted and no-showed and just
That's
signed with Penn State,
crazy.
which is insane. Like, you just won a national championship. It's not like you're going to be their head coach. Like, you went from D coordinator to D coordinator
Yeah.
to a team that's had a pretty good defense. Their problem's been offense. So I'm
Yeah,
curious to
you
see
might
how
as
Penn
well
State looks.
celebrate then dip out,
I
be like,
know,
hey
right?
guys, sorry, I gotta head out.
Yeah, I'd rather be like, hey, yeah, what a run, guys. So happy. But apparently there was some beef internally between like
Mm.
some of the defensive coaching staff and him. So, but I saw it today and I was surprised. And then like 20 minutes later, I saw that Pete Carroll agreed to be the coach for the Raiders, and I had no idea. Like that happened like yesterday, and I'm like, how did I not get informed about this?
Yeah, pretty crazy stuff. Pete is 73, but
Yeah.
man's jacked. He's healthy boy. So
Hey, he is more mentally aware than our past two presidents. So,
yes.
um,
Yeah, Trump's off to not to get political, off to quite a run to start off the presidency.
it's hey, he's doing what he said he'd do. I'll give him that.
He's doing stuff. Well, not no, we don't have to get into it, but not
No, I
entirely.
think
But
my last statement about the whole thing is just going to be that I get really annoyed when I see people on TikTok talk about it and Twitter talk about it because you can tell that they have no idea what they're talking about sometimes. Like oh,
yeah.
they signed this. This is what it means. Like that's not what it means.
Yeah, I'll watch some stuff and you can kind of tell, like, oh, this guy knows what they're talking about. And then some people are just like complain about it and like give no info. Like, so
Yeah. I'm like, are you sure that's what that means? I don't think that's what that means. And then like I find like some smart person talking about it. And I'm like, not
ah,
great, but better than what so and so was saying.
yeah,
It was happening.
yeah,
But
fun times. But some fun names: Cam Scattaboo, Dylan Gabriel, Jalen Milrow, of course. We have Nick Scorton, also Shamar Stewart, Shamar Turner from Texas A&M.
yeah, all the A&M guys.
We have Jalen Royals out of Utah State. I've heard some pretty good things about him. Wyatt Millum, West Virginia. Jonah, I won't even try to say his name.
Yeah,
Arizona tackle / interior offense lineman. It's fun. There's some guys. There's some guys I'm excited to see.
yeah.
And yeah. So Tez
You know
Johnson.
what sucks is I think if the NFL draft happened 2 weeks ago, I think Scattaboo is probably a third rounder.
Yeah.
With the draft in April, I think he probably falls to like fourth, fifth. Just like looking at all the other guys that are available, it's like he's good, but he's not as fast.
I think it comes down to like his 40 time. Like
Yeah.
honestly, like 40 time, maybe some measurement stuff, how he looks in some of these games. 'Cause if say he runs like a 4
He's going to be in like the
4
4
4
7.
4.55 and lower, I think he's gonna be like a lock for third round.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
anything higher than that, we'll see. It might fluctuate.
Yeah, I just think now that I have time to like think and be rational about it, like I think there's a lot of other backs that are going to be better than him. I think he's going to be a great piece wherever he goes. But
I think that's because he's kind of unique. He's a guy who can receive, he can run, he's very physical. He's not just like that traditional like back, like say Travion or Quinshon or Omarion Hampton. Some of these guys that are a little bit more like just like a little easier to predict because Cam's Scatterby is such like a unicorn of a player. So
yeah, I agree.
But, yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be fun. That's all I got to say about it.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
I'm excited to release my when I have time and actually sit down and do it. My 2025 prospect list, where I have ranked the top 4 of each position, and I also have the guys that I've selected that I'm going to write features about that I still need to get to you.
Ooh!
I'll tell you right now, my featured players are Quinn Ewers, Abdul Carter, Shadur Sanders, Jalen Walker, Will Campbell, and Tyler Warren will be my
Cool.
featured players that I will write about.
Okay, I'll keep those blank, so I'll fill yours in there. Thank you, everyone, for listening.